Everyone's like, oh, look, here comes Pensy Joe bringing the Pennsylvania stuff because really test LED in the headlight, but we'll take this to quite well by all. Regular combination, she's all that Sheet at 10. Proceed to 15. Hey everybody, this is Pensy Joe back again to do another unboxing for Train Talks. It's going to be a really quick one. This is pretty much going to wrap up this month's unboxing. I also got some plans I'd like to discuss for future projects. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into the unboxing. Let's open up the big box first. So I already opened it because I didn't really want to deal with, seeing stuff that shouldn't be seen. Well, usually you can just yank it, but there we go. Alrighty. Got my receipt from the store that I got this stuff from. Let's take a look, see what we got in here. Got some bags. There we go. Some more Walthers kits. This is the Water Street Freight Terminal. So this will be for the depot. This is pretty much a depot. This will be the depot for the Tennessee area. So that's what that is. These are all sealed, all brand new, so it's pretty good. All right, I completed one of the businesses. This is the brick kilns that will be at the Brickworks. So you got two kilns here with a, I guess the smokestack for the kilns. So that's pretty good. I'm glad I got this. This is gonna be an interesting kit. They're not that big around. They're about like a third, just over a third of a foot in diameter. These things, and they're about 2.5 to 730 seconds. So it's about. Yeah, it's about a 2.25 inch in height, which is interesting because that's pretty much the distance between the main lines when going around curves, and pretty much on the main lines in general is the distance between each other. So it's kind of interesting math. This gives me like a visual idea what the center lines will be. So yeah, this is another cool little kit that will complete the Brickworks. What we got here is we got. More to complete the Pennsylvania area where the roundhouse and servicing facilities will be for the railroad. I got a modern coaling tower, so this is a really cool kit. It also comes with a shed building, which is interesting, and it's also got where the hopper cars drop off their coal. So it's pretty cool. Serves 3 tracks. We got the roundhouse and we got the coaling tower, so that's pretty good. Next thing I got is the railroad shops. This is for the locomotive shop. This is where the locomotive shop will be, and this is a pretty big building. Yeah, this is where the locomotives will be serviced on the railroad. Of course, I'm going to want to get some roof details at some point. But man, this is a heavy box. This is definitely heavy. And that's what it is. I can make the shops longer if I wanted to, or wider, but I think that's good enough. And then next we have the car shops. This is for the passenger cars and sometimes the freight cars as well. So this is where they'll get serviced. A lot of the passenger cars, this will be in this yard too. And this will be a place for, for them to get serviced. I'll have to see what space it is because you can expand this thing not just width-wise but lengthwise too. So you can put multiple cars inside of the shop and make it longer if you want to, or wider. So that's pretty cool. So that's another kit I got, more for the Pennsylvania region for the rail yard. And next we have is the machine shop. So this is where let's say it needs to be really, worked on or whatever for machining parts for steam engines or for diesels. So this is a really cool another building that will be for the locomotive shop area. So again, more buildings, which is great. These will be more towards of course, where the Pennsylvania area is, where the service shops are. So yeah, we'll take a look at the end of this of what buildings I've added check marks to, and where we are from there for gathering all the buildings for the layout that will need to be eventually built. So here they all are. Most of them are 4 out of 6 are meant for the Pennsylvania area. So we got the coaling tower, we got the railroad shops, we got the car shop, and the machine shop. So most of the buildings are pretty much almost done. I think for a couple more would be the water tower. I need the steel modern water tower to also be there, and I also need the freight office to be in the yard in the very back. I also need a sanding facility as well near the coaling tower as well in front of the roundhouse. And I believe that would be it for that particular region of the peninsula for the region. And then I will have to get a coal power plant or just New Northern power plant and get some, I think 1 or 2 substation kits. Maybe probably 2 substation because one of them is going to be transmission yard and the other is going to be a regular distribution center yard to power the facility for the railroad. Which would be pretty cool. Some people are like, well, that's a little bit excessive. And I'm like, well, I want to add realism to how that will work because since my real life job has to do with, the distribution for electrical stuff, it will be cool to add that to it. So yeah, these kits will be really great. They're a great addition to the kits back over there in the corner. As you can see, there's a roundhouse and a couple other buildings that are going to go around the layout. So there's still quite a number of buildings to go. This is a process by process thing. I feel like this is easy just to get the building, especially sealed. Because if I get the new buildings and whatnot, I'll be ready to already have them and can start building them once everything else is in place. Which don't forget, this is not going to be done really fast. This is going to be a multi-year process, depending how funds work and whatnot, and what I want to do with my significant other and plans that we want to do. So it can accelerate and it can decelerate a lot. It just depends on what I want to do and what I like to acquire during the time. So yeah, this will probably be the last time for now. I mean, it's the second time I've gotten buildings, but it's gonna be the second till it's gonna be the last time for now for acquiring building kits for the layout. So yeah, I mean these are again, these are dice kits. I can't wait to try some. I like to get some cheap kits to try and test weathering on, so that when I do these, I can do realistic brick colors, especially for the regions that they represent. And yeah, it'll be interesting to do these. That'll be a fun thing to do when I get further along in the series, which will probably be way further on. And the reason why it's going to be further on is because there's a stage of things I'm going to have to do. The first thing is doing the bench work. That's going to be the first step. And then the second step will be, cork bedding and laying track. And then the next step afterward, but really before I put the track down, is I'm going to be making sure that there's drops for the power for a railroad as well. So I'll have to acquire, I will need to acquire some a LocoNet and some boosters. There's going to be, I don't know how many boosters I'm going to do. I know that the roundhouse itself will be on its separate booster. So that building alone with all those tracks and for all those locomotives will be on its own booster. Of course, I'll be having an inverter for the turntable. The turntable itself will be the inverter. And the reason why is because Usually you're going in one direction onto the turntable and you're getting off on the same turntable to go to another area. So even if I had to turn the locomotive all the way around, as soon as it gets off, it completely inverts the turntable so that, it doesn't short and, cause problems, obviously. So the turntable itself will be an inverter on its own. I don't think I'm going to do individual inverters for like the track. That seems ridiculous. I think if you can hook up an inverter just to the turntable, it'll make it easier. Some people might disagree. Personally, I think that's the best way to go because once you go back to like the out track, then I'm not 100% how the inverters like work on the railroad on like model railroading, but I want to reduce like the footprint because like let's say if I run the 20th Century Limited on the lower level, I have to figure out what the length it is to tell how long the reverse loop will have to be because the 20th Century Limited is a pretty long train. It's 10 coaches and a locomotive and a tender. So for that to go around a balloon loop on a lower level, it needs to have enough length without having to interfere with too many yards, I guess. Um, Unless the yards will be on the reverse loop as on the reverse power as well. So it's going to be interesting to figure out. I'll have to test. I'll have to obviously test these things as I go. That's kind of the problem when you have passenger cars with like reverse. I guess with like keep alives in them is that they can carry the current over. And some people are like, you don't know anything about electronics or how electricity works, and you're probably right. It's just some things I have to, but you have to admit, like I'm taking the stuff and then thinking ahead of things that can possibly go wrong, and I have to engineer in a way to make it work. Um, but yeah, the 20th century is pretty much one of the only like. Well, I do have the MTH coaches for the Pennsylvania, the heavyweights, but the 20th century's got some interesting, uh, by MTH as well has got some interesting power as well. So we're gonna open a smaller box, and the smaller box is something different. This is a completely different thing. Some people are gonna ask a question why I got these, but it'll be easy to explain soon. So here we are. We got two Proto 2000 E6 units. This is the E6B. This is unpowered. And you got an E6A that is powered. And I also got another one right there. So it's an E6ABA Southern paint scheme locomotive set. This one's brand new. This one has not been opened. So obviously this one will be a lot newer and hopefully a lot cleaner too. These are sealed, so that's cool. But yeah, the Proto 2000 E units are pretty nice. If you want E units, get some Protos if you can't find what you want, especially from Broadway. If you can't find them for the right price, the Proto E units are not bad. They do have some axle gear issues, but you don't really have to worry about it too much because you can buy the new Walthers Proto replacement gear axle gear wheel sets for the trucks. So when you open them up, you can just drop the new ones in because you don't have to pull apart the wheels to replace the gears anymore. You can just get new gear sets for E6, E7, E8, and I believe there's a couple other E's as well that they do. I don't know what other E units Proto 2000 has made besides E6, 7, and 8 and not -9. But yeah, don't be afraid with these. These are pretty solid models. My club has a whole bunch of these. They have a Seaboard AB set. They also have a FEC, like I think E8 or something like that. So, and I also have Proto 2000 FA2s. I got an ABBA unit of the FA2s for the Pennsylvania. And I'll do a video on how to put TCS out, of course, in these at some point. It's not gonna be now. I got more decoders coming. I only got 2 more diesel decoders. Um, so they're gonna be for the B units for the ABBA. And I know people were like, "Why are you putting like 4 decoders and like 4 powered units? Why can't you just get 2 dummies?" And the reason why I don't want to do 2 dummies is because I like the authenticity of the realism for 4 individual prime movers in them. And then yeah, on TCS you can do dual prime mover, dual prime mover mode for your single locomotive. But I like to keep everything in uniform, and I like that there's separate 4 units that are powered to have that. And already in the if you're already seen the running session with the AA set, that they're more than enough to pull a freight train, especially if it's weighted too, without issues. A simple 4 axle AA set is pretty strong. Um, but even then, the idea is for 4 powered units, for especially for 4 axle locomotives, is that it distributes the stress of pulling. The pulling. If you have 1 unit pulling a freight train, it's under a lot more stress than two units pulling 2 units pulling a train, and then that includes 3 units and then 4 units. 4 units is going to pretty much divide the. It's not accurate. It's not 100% accurate, but it's going to divide the stress, the pulling stress, by like by a factor of 4. Now that does not include that's an idealistic kind of like terminology right there, because obviously you got to factor other things like the variance of friction, especially going around curves, and you also got to vary like the motor wear, and which motors are pretty much broken in and which are not, and how much they've been broken in time and whatnot for each of those locomotives. So that's just something to factor in. And obviously mine has their gears replaced. They had their axle gears and intermediate gears replaced, like all of them, all the units on the ABBA. So, that's also another new factor, as well as how new are the parts and whatnot. But even then, it's really minuscule. So yes, 4 units powered is pretty much a division by 4 of the stress workload. So they get a quarter of the stress each unit, and in unison, which is good because I can pull longer if I wanted to. I could pull. It wouldn't be that practical on the layout like this, but maybe at a club layout, I could pull like realistic length trains with an ABBA of those Alco units. But yeah, back to this. These E6s. Why am I getting Southern units even though this is mainly Pennsylvania Railroad, and I already got a few other roads? I got a fictional road that's based off the club that I adopted to put on my layout. It's called the Columbian Bay and Western. So I would like to get some undeck units at some point of not E units, but of like more steam engines and some freight diesels, because it's based off of the clinch field in real life at my former club's lore or whatever. So they're called the Columbian Bay and Western. I have a Challenger that's been painted in Columbian Bay and Western heritage scheme, where otherwise would have been just black. I have to repaint that. I'd like to redo the painting on it. I'll probably just paint over it and do it better this time instead of just just grit blasting the thing and starting over again. And that's just the thing about painting, is that you can repaint over it. It will make the shell not as crisp with the detail, but you can get your paint right, and it's not the perfect way, but it is a way. It's the less stressful way, I think, in my view. Because if you don't know what you're doing with grip blasting, you can probably damage the model significantly. But I could be wrong about that, and I'm pretty sure there are people are going to say, "No, you're not going to really damage it." So, and then I guess it depends on what grit you use as well. So the reason why I got Southern E6, 2 E6 units are powered. I'll go get the other one, actually. Let's go get that one. This one still has its flappy thing. Well, this still has its flap, too. It's just bent backwards. Yep, so there's those flaps. They're bent backwards. So this one I got to fix the door on the other side for. It's got slightly worn wheels, but that's okay. It's obviously missing some detail. That's just something you notice with Proto 2000. But the reason why I got this one in particular, I mean, I don't even know what this is. All I know is that it shattered off. I couldn't find it where it was shattered, but yeah. So this is the reason why I got a single and a BA and an ABA pretty much is because Tennessee was also part of the Southern Rail system. So there would be Southern passenger trains coming. There'll be passenger trains coming from Jacksonville all the way up into Tennessee and whatnot. So it makes sense to have, to have Southern Railway as a part of it. And I'm not gonna get like a whole too much of Southern stuff. There'll probably be like some Southern steam engines at Tennessee Roundhouse, doing what they're doing over there, and maybe working at the coal mine or something like that. And it's just a mix of equipment sharing in that region because in my fictional universe, there's like Pennsylvania goes south and reaches down as a new panhandle, like another panhandle branch that goes down to Jacksonville, Florida. So, yeah, so that's why I got these. I'll eventually get TCS decoders for both of these. They have Mars lights, so that'll be fun to actually have a Mars light set of train of A units on the layout. It'll be pretty cool to see how those will do. The B unit's obviously unpowered, which I'm not going to make power. It's fine. These units are really Proto 2000 E units are pretty strong. Two of them is good enough to pull a nice passenger train, and even if there's a B unit in the middle, it's not much of a problem. So, but yeah, that's pretty much the end of the unboxing. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will also show pretty much a screenshot of where my layout is of like all the check marks that we have now for all the buildings acquired right now. So yeah, and these are going to be future project. I got some other stuff coming along the way as well. There is I ordered some Alco DL202 and 203 shells, and if you don't know what those are, the DL202s, they were nicknamed the Black Marias. They are pretty much the predecessor to the Alco FA1/FA2 series. And the reason why I'm getting an ABBA of those shells, yes, I'm getting an ABBA of the shells, even though in real life there was only one ABA set in existence. They were in the Northeast, I think, for the whole time, and then they just got scrapped eventually. The reason why I'm getting that is I like to do a project to make Pensy, like a fictional Pensy like set of them. Say like, hey, the Pensy was interested in them or something like that. And I'm not sure what kind of prime movers are going to put in them. I'll have to look up what the prime movers they have. I don't think it was a 539T. I'm pretty sure it was a 244, the new one, when that was infamous with Alco for a long time. Or I might say, this is a little bit further down the line, and Alco just, decided, after they did the 251, they offered, put the 251s, on a discount or for free for certain roads to have the 251 a conversion and pretty much try to save themselves pretty much. In my universe, Alco did not drop the ball too much, so but they still kind of like messed up when it came to GE and like whatnot. So I can't do like modern Alco, what modern Alco would have looked like, or what amount. And it's interesting because modern Alco would have probably looked similar to the M420s or something like that. That because the Canadian railroad companies really liked Alcos and they kept them around longer. So yeah, without further ado, thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to see the end to see where we are with the layout and how many buildings we have, and probably how much more we need to acquire. So yeah, this is Pensy Joe signing out again, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye now. Hey everybody, glad that you guys made it to the end of the video. And as you can see, we added some more check marks to the buildings on the layout. We have the cooling tower checked, we've got the machine shop, the loco shop, and the car shop done over at the Pennsylvania area. And then over in the Tennessee area, we got the kilns near the brickworks over there. That are near the inner loop that loops around. And we also got the depot, which is I think I forgot what the name of it was already. It's downstairs now. So that's what that is right now. And as you can see, we're getting there. We're getting there with the buildings. We still need to get some more for the main level, and then we'll pretty much call the main level complete. In terms of getting buildings, we got to get a couple other more buildings, and then we should be good. Anywho, that'll be all for now.
Hear the lonesome hobo squall, riding through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball. Now here's to Daddy Claxton, may his name forever stand, and may be remembered in the courts throughout the land. When his earthly race is over, let the curtains round him fall. We'll carry him home to victory on the Wabash Cannonball. Oh, listen to the jingle, the rumble and the roar, as she glides along the woodland to the hill and by the shore. Hear the mighty rush of the engine, hear the lonesome hobo squall, riding through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball.